Good morning, everyone. I can see there's about 15 of us there already. So thank you for being here early. So I'm not awkwardly talking to everyone. I will go back on mute soon, but I just wanted to pop on, let you know that you're here, you're in the right place. So that I can double check all of the text working. Over in the right-hand side there, you can see the chat. I would love it if you could just start to just drop your name over there. Let me know you're there, where you're from, if you can hear me, if you can see me, if you can see slides, all that sort of good stuff. I'd appreciate that from you. So you'll see over in the right-hand side on the chat, you can drop comments and notes in there. Sam from Lismore. Awesome. Thank you, Samantha. Kat, amazing. I love seeing that there are people there because it lets me know that things are working. Jody, Alyssa, how are you? Thank you, Alyssa. I'm glad you can let me know you can hear as well. Hey, Rachel. Amazing. So today's, and if you're watching a recording of this, you can probably skip forward 5 minutes. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. Joe from Alcoa, you're in your Montreal office. Amazing. I did not know that we were going to be live in Montreal today. That's cool. So today's going to be, there's a large group of people have registered. So there's over 400 HR, talent, marketing people in leadership roles across Australia that have signed up. Generally, that means that we'll probably have around 150, 200 of you here, which is amazing. There's about 33 of us, 34 I can see sort of here right now. We'll wait a little bit. I'm going to talk and try to entertain everyone for 5 minutes or so, just to give people an opportunity to log in. Also, because there's that, moving from Eventbrite over into Demio, which just can take a minute or two as well. So I'm conscious of that for people. And I know everyone's not sitting in front of their desk immediately ready for a webinar. So thank you to all of you that are here and chatting already. Hey, Brooke, Dee from Brisbane. Hey, Dee, Manuel. Ellen from Adelaide, Jane Brisbane. Awesome. If you've just arrived, I'd love you to say hello in the chat. Let me know your name. Let me know where you're from. And while we're waiting for people, actually, I'll just give you a quick an overview of Demio, the platform that we're here as well. It's similar to Zoom, but it's just a bit more interactive. Yep. So you can see me. You can see the slides here. It's easy for me to move through. Hey, Grant from Sydney. Chloe, awesome. Nice to have you here. So it's just more interactive, particularly the chat widget over on the right-hand side. I don't know about you guys, but I get extreme Zoom fatigue. I struggle with it. It doesn't feel interactive. It feels like very passive. And also we can't have 200 of us with our cameras on, whereas the chat function in Demio works really well for this sort of stuff. I would love you to comment. I would love you to get engaged. I'd love you to talk over there. Today's supposed to be it's a live session on purpose because I'll actually give you examples. I'll give you ideas. I'm going to ask people about their business, and actually do my best to actually on the spot come up with a few ideas for you when we're looking at your employment brand strategy as well. Hey, Fiona. Hey, Danny. Natasha. Shanali. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right. Hey, Shanali. But yeah, and I'm going to just talk for, what's the time now? So it's bang on 10 o'clock. We had 400 registered, which means, is that Tom Hitchcock from Sydney? Is that the Tom Hitchcock that I've met before? Your ex-LinkedIn Tom Hitchcock? I hope so. That'll be cool. That was a Tom. But yeah, so today we're going to be going through, well, I'm just going to give everyone, Tom, another handsome chap. Good for you. So today we're going to be going through understanding how you can apply the principles of content marketing to your employment brand to be more successful. So if you're imagining this Venn diagram, hey Adam, hey Liana, if you're imagining this Venn diagram of HR, talent acquisition, and marketing strategy, that's really where today's going to live. So hopefully it's super useful for everyone. My goal is to make it incredibly practical. This is not a thinly veiled sales pitch, as a lot of webinars can feel, right? you will leave this with actually like something that you can go implement and something that you can action inside of your business. So that's always my commitment, that it's worth your time. And hopefully that's why people keep coming along to these and showing up, which is awesome. Cool. So the time now is 10:02. I can see we're just about at 100 people live. We had about 400 sign up. So I'll probably keep going just for 2 or 3 minutes, just to let those last few people go through the Demio login process and get there, and then we'll get started. And if you've just joined us, head on over, introduce yourself in the chat, let us know where you're from. Hey, Catherine, let us know that you're there. And that chat's like, it's so useful. The other thing is I can do polls there. I can actually, the slides from today, I can drop there in the chat at the end, so you can download them live. We'll send them afterwards, but that way you're not waiting for the recording. You can get those assets immediately. So I'll be able to share them over there. Lisa, Brad, Lucy, Ulrika. Hey, how are you? Lisa from Metcash. I've been to the Metcash office many times, but years ago, so probably going back about 15 years ago, maybe almost 20, when I worked with Hayes and spent some time out of the Hayes Burwood office. And so we did some finance roles with Metcash once upon a time. Maggie in Melbourne. Hey, Andrew Brisbane. Awesome. So we're at around 120. Jade from Melbourne. Hello, Jade. And thank you everyone for getting in there and commenting as well, because otherwise it feels like I'm talking to myself in a room, which is always awkward. Tenya and Jade in Kuma, amazing. 10:03, 2 minutes time, I'm going to start. So if people aren't here, then we've given them a little bit of time. Danny from Shopo, such a cool brand. Nice to have you, Danny. So we've got about 125 of us now. So we'll give it, a minute or two, and then I'll start talking and people will be able to catch up. Polly, Kush, hey Kush, good to have you here. Thank you. And if you're just arriving, introduce yourself in the chat and familiarize yourself with Demio. Like, we use this. Matt's from Zamparello. One of the team here actually used to work for that Sam Prince hospitality group. I think Zamparello's the chain is part of that, but yeah, she used to work. She was amazing. A girl called Shannon, but she worked on like Indo and Mexico and all their launches and stuff as well. Nikki from Bostic. Hey, Nikki. Adam from Foxtel. Got a mate at Foxtel. He's in like the sports marketing sponsorship team. So, in fact, he might be in Fox Sports or Fox Sports channel. Is just, I think it's like a separate group there. Eve. Hey, Eve. How are you? Amanda from Pro Clinical. Awesome. So we're at about 140 people. We had about 400 register. That's about right for a show up rate, usually around 30 to 40%, with most of them coming in and watching the recordings as well. Michelle from ABC, Kimberly from ACU, Sean from ARN. What's up, Sean? Cool name. I love it. Good Human, James. Awesome. Natalie from New South Wales Treasury. We did some stuff with New South Wales Treasury. Were you there, Natalie? We had the I won't disclose everything that we've been doing, but we've been doing some stuff with Ken. Hey, awesome. You were amazing. Hey, Natalie. Jenny from Adecco. Jenny, we do a fair bit with Ryan as well. I don't know if you knew that when you booked up, but there you go. With Ryan in at marketing. Subna Telstra, Amber. Amazing. Guys, thank you so much. I love that you're getting involved. I love that you're seeing you there, like dropping your name in the chat. Rowena from Temple Webster. Temple Webster is super cool as well. I think you guys have got such a success story. We were doing Voice of Customer. We interviewed one of the I interviewed one of the Temple and Webster founders for about like a HR process thing that the business did as they scaled. Anyway, okay, guys, let's get into it. But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being present. I appreciate your time. 150 of you. That's a great turnout. Keep introducing yourself in the chat there, and I will like actively be engaging and talking to people over there as well. Hey, Joanna. Let's get started. Okay, so today is all about the HR leaders, anyone in talent and HR. So if you're HR, talent acquisition, even in marketing, and you're looking at how do we grow our employer brand, then today is for you. Hey, Madison. So today is going to be successful list. This is what's going to make it a good day. Other than, of course, you enjoying yourself and me being interesting. So number one is we're going to kick off just with some stats and some data about how to build your internal business case for your EVP, right? So I know that not always companies are sitting there with dedicated resources to it. I know if marketing people here, you're very welcome. I know that marketing teams are stretched. And so often if you're in HR or talent, you want to be doing some of this work, but marketing only has so many resources that they've been given. So this is something that you can actually do with them together. So we're just going to give you a few stats that just help set the scene for what's going to happen this year. I'm going to give you some of my predictions based on what I'm seeing and what we're seeing from a lot of conversations with a lot of people. Also, then we're going to go through actually a practical framework for understanding the candidate journey. So I'll talk about my background. Georgina from Quantium. Hey, Georgina. Some of the old LinkedIn team that I used to work with are in Quantium. But we're going to go through actually understanding what the candidate journey is, right? So with my marketing hat on, marketers are very used to doing buyer journeys. What's a journey that someone goes through from not being aware of your business to buying your business? The candidate journey is really similar, right? So we need to look at that process of what's the experience that someone has from never having heard of you for working with you, and how can we use content marketing, and how can we grow our employer brand at all of those different stages. Hey Maha, thanks for joining. We're going to look at just some different key questions. So first of all, we're going to look at that journey, and then we're going to look at each section of the journey. Yeah. So when I've never heard of you, or I'm just starting to look, what are my behaviors? What are the things I'm asking? And then how can you put your brand in front of them? Yeah. So how can you start to build your employment brand? How can you put your talent acquisition team in front of that person at each of those stages? Then we're going to go through exactly which content assets you need to help drive more applications and get more performance at each of those stages. After this, I'm also going to give you a template that you can basically go in and fill out and add in there as well. Hey, Melissa, Nature's Energy. I think I've got some of your vitamins at home. Determine exactly which, or is it the food? Determine exactly which content assets are going to help you. And then we're going to look at how do you promote those as well. So the point isn't having a great career page or a great video page or a great EVP video or great EVP content. It's how do I get it in front of the right person at the right time? And so also we then talk on that. Jeanette from the ABC. Hey, Jeanette. So we're going to talk on that in a lot more depth as well. How do you put the right content asset, right person, right time, so that you can then move them into that candidate journey, and so for you to acquire more people. So that's what's going to make today successful. Hey, Vanessa. Business case, framework for the candidate journey, understand what the candidates are asking and what they're saying and what they're doing in all of those different phases. What assets can you use to enter that journey and influence that journey at the right time? And then what channels and strategies help you put your brand in front of them at the right time? Hey, Deb, I can see we're 160, almost 170 people now. That's amazing. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And before we get started, I just wanted to, it's semantics, but just so that we're all talking about the same thing. And also it'll help give a sense of what I'm focusing on today as well. So I think of employer value proposition as the value that you offer to your employees when they work at your organization. So what do they get? Yeah. So when you're working on your EVP, a lot of that can be internal, right? How do we look at leadership? How do we look at training? How do we look at conditions? How do we look at meaning? How do we look at culture? All of those sorts of things to make up an EVP. Then you've got this thing, employer brand, and that is how does the market perceive your business? Yeah. So I think of EVP as internal and employer brand as external. It's semantics, but it's just so that we can sort of split those two things aside. You'll probably find that even I'm guilty in these slides of talking about your EVP when I'm talking about external things. But I recognize the fact that your employer value proposition is a lot bigger than the communication of your employer brand. Yeah, like I know it's a lot bigger than marketing because it's how people do things and how they treat each other. So it's a lot bigger than a career page and some ads, right? So I absolutely know that. So, but we'll talk about your EVP and we'll talk about employer brand. But it's a nice distinction that can be useful for everyone. And also today we make a bit of an assumption. So today is mostly about how do you promote your employer brand. Yeah. So what are the different ways that we can use content? What are the different ways that we can use marketing strategies? What are the different channels that we can use to tell that story to improve our marketing brand? But we've sort of made an assumption that you do have you've got an internal value proposition. So it will still be useful for you if you don't, because it tells you what to do with it once it's executed. And if you're still at a point of defining your EVP, it is something we can help with. I'll share some more at the end. But the content today is more about how do you tell your story and how do you amplify your story and how do you put it in front of the right person. This slide today you'll be hearing from Sean Withford, because last time I did this, someone else introduced it, me, and now it's super awkward because I'm referring to myself in the third person. But all of this is just to create context for why I'm here and why I'm the person talking about this stuff today, and like the relevancy. So I'm going to start from the back. I started my career studied marketing, worked in a big advertising agency on big global brands. So Microsoft, MasterCard, Xbox, Unilever, Coca-Cola. So I was working on a lot of big brand campaigns. And that was my background. This is about 2000, if that dates me. So it was, I think Zuckerberg was still in his dorm room at this point. Smartphones were like, your phone was a smartphone if it had Snake on it. You probably had a Nokia 3210. So that was when I started out this stuff, right? And so it was a lot of TV advertising, a lot of branding work, those sorts of things. I went to a recruitment agency for an interview for a marketing role where they convinced me that I would make a wonderful recruiter. So yeah, I applied for a marketing role, showed up at the agency, and then ended up a recruiter, which I loved. So I was at Hayes for about 6 years, made some amazing friends, met my now wife. So really enjoyed that time. Then had about a year or so with Corn Ferry Future Step running an RPO. And then from there was one of the very first employees for LinkedIn Australia. And so when I was there, it started out in this key account role. So working with a lot of the big talent and recruitment industry brands on an APAC basis, on LinkedIn marketing, EVP, branding, talent acquisition, candidate acquisition. And then I moved into running one of the teams there. So I was sort of working with key accounts, then led one of the teams. And when I was there, I could see that, LinkedIn, and I love LinkedIn, best job I've ever had. And they have some amazing tools for promoting your EVP. But the challenge that all of the companies had was that they didn't have one or they didn't have assets to promote, right? So companies were investing in promoting their employment brand without having employment brand assets, and then didn't know what to do with those things. Really, that was the genesis of my business today, Eloquent, right? So Eloquent is a marketing agency. I'd say we do a lot of employment brand work, a lot of recruitment agency work, and a lot of B2B work as well. We've been around for 6 years now, so well established, worked with a lot of companies and brands. And then my co-founder was actually one of my old clients at LinkedIn, a guy called Richard Rowe. You might hear from him. But Rich was a 20-year corporate marketer, but again, most relevant is he ran marketing specifically with the goal of employment branding, candidate acquisition for Michael Page. And he did that first for Australia, then APAC, then globally. Over his 12 years there, he had a big team of about 50 marketers. So that's the Venn diagram of experience, right? It was time inside of marketing and understanding those principles. Time at, I've sat in internal and external recruitment and ran a desk and had candidates not show up on their first day. I've had all of those experiences. And then at LinkedIn, I had the privilege of seeing inside a lot of different companies' strategies and seeing what was working and what wasn't. And now we've got about 6 years of actually doing it for people as well. So, and today I'm going to give away a lot of the stuff that some of the intellectual property and the things that we've developed over time. So you can take that and use it into your business. So I know that the about me is boring, but I just wanted to create context for why I have an opinion on this stuff. And so hopefully you can see that it's been my life for the last 20 something years, and I've sat in most of the seats that you might be sitting. Okay, now let's talk about Australia. We're just setting the scene for what's happening right now. And we're speaking to a lot of people. If you're here, hey Alicia, if you're here, you're feeling the pain of hiring, and you've probably got a goal of growing your brand through your EVP, which is amazing. So you know this stuff, or this is your lived experience. This is just some data points to help back it up for you, because you'll get these slides, and so if you need to be able to reference things and talk about it back inside of your business when you're talking about EVP and why this needs to be a focus. So the first chart that you're looking at here, this is unemployment data for Australia for as long as it's been on record. It goes back about 50 years, and we are here. Yeah. So we are at the unemployment, and this is the most recent data. So this is the data from end of December that comes out mid-January. This is like unemployment has not been lower as long as we've been measuring unemployment. Yeah. It is incredibly hard to hire, and all of you are experiencing that, whether you're in HR or talent or marketing. It's all of our experience, and the data shows it to us as well. The other thing, just to show you, is labor force participation is at an all-time high, right? So there's never been lower unemployment, but also there's never been a higher percentage of the population working. So there's no fudging of the data that lives in this, where there's less people in the market and that's impacting the numbers. There have never been more people gainfully employed than there is today, in real terms and in percentage terms. Yeah. And actual hours worked is also at an all-time high. Yep, this is the chart for all-time hours. You can see this is COVID right here. Actual hours worked is an all-time high, right? So there's, again, not this underemployment issue that's hidden in the numbers. The numbers are all going up to the right? So that's the experience that we're having at the moment. And then this is my 2023 prediction. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the high-tech layoffs, and then we're going to go into the EVP stuff. But hopefully this is interesting. In fact, if you could just let me know in the chat, like, if this is interesting and if this is your experience as well, just it'll help me know that people are there and I'm not talking to my own, and I'd appreciate it. So this is my 2023 prediction. Thanks, Amber. We are in a high inflation, high interest rate, low unemployment, real wage erosion environment. That's what's happening. Yeah, there's been a little bit of a dip on retail spending that's sort of happening, and we've had some of those high-tech stuff. This is my prediction for 2023, and it's not really a prediction because it's kind of already happening now. If you've got massive inflation and you've got massive interest rate and you've got low unemployment, we're seeing average wage growth at around 3% versus inflation around 7%. You've got real wage erosion of about 4% year on year. You can expect way more. Hey, Fee from Rapid, you can expect way more articles like this. Yeah. Train dispute ends as union votes to accept the government deal. We all had train strikes for a year. The union got what they want. Nurses and midwives walk off job for the fourth time. Unions predict, this is from Monday this week. Unions predict Monday morning chaos for Sydney commuters. Teachers hold unprecedented strike as anger over shortages and pay boils over. TAFE New South Wales calls to a 24-hour strike over pay. Public sector workers strike despite 3% pay rise. Pfizer workers, the people who are making the most money in the world during COVID, their workers in Melbourne are also walking off the job amid pay disputes. Australia working salary standoff, 80% are planning. This is articles from, I think I kept the date in here somewhere. Australia, it's from this year. The workers standoff, 80% intend on leaving their jobs if they're not given a pay rise beating inflation, right? So this is going to be a massive theme for 2023. I can see Joanne there as well, not just Australia. UK has every sector striking, train, paramedics, teachers, nurses. Absolutely. Like this is not us. It's a global thing. We're all in the same environment of wage deflation. So this is going to be the reality for this year. And why I bring this up about the challenge of salary issues when we're here to talk about employer brand is I think the two are very interlinked. If you don't have a strong employer brand, if you don't have a strong employer value proposition, then as an employer, you're going to be a little bit more homogenous. Like candidates aren't going to know you relative to the rest of the other brands and businesses in the market. So the only way that you can compete will be on salary. Yeah. So in a very real way, right? Like, and there's probably going to be an element of that anyway this year. But like the reality of this year is you're, for any CEOs listening to this, you're going to pay one way or another, right? You're going to pay to keep people, or you're going to pay when they leave. But either way, it's going to happen, right? This is going to be the reality of this year. You can see here KPMG surveyed CEOs, business leaders. 70% said obtaining and keeping talent their biggest challenge. You'll see this afterwards as well. This is some stats from Talent, who are a big IT recruitment agency in particular. They're seeing faster hiring processes. IT people get an average of almost 3 job offers. So every person gets almost 3 offers, 22% more counter offers, and up to 30% tech increase salaries. It's all happening. And you all know this because you're here, but this is more for something you can take back into your business. And then we'll jump into actually that employer brand roadmap. This is to that you're going to pay one way or another is my unfortunate prediction for 2023. You can either invest in being your employee's first choice, right? So you can do that. Or in a very real way, like you can pay above market averages to attract the top talent. You can keep losing key people to competitors. You're going to have high turnover costs for replacing employees. You're going to have to increase your headcount costs in all of your TA teams because you need more of them to cover the churn that's coming because of the pay increases. You're going to have more agency fees. You're going to have more training and onboarding costs for all of your new hires. There's a productivity hit that happens. So when your people are leaving and there's new people coming in, there's a ramp period. You're going to have missed sales targets and missed sales quotas due to headcount gaps. Right, I've led sales teams, and one of the number one reasons that a team misses its annual number is, 4 of the BDM headcounts were empty for the year, so they missed their new business target because people weren't there. And then when they do hire them, there's going to be a 3 or 4 month ramp period as well before they become effective, right? So like you pay for poor retention in missed sales targets as well. You get to, it's sort of then a vicious cycle. You've got this like lower morale and engagement because people are leaving, which means more people leave. You're going to have this like absenteeism and burnout because people are covering for the people that just left and they're covering for the new people that they've got to train to start. And there's also this intangible, like there's all of the things that you didn't do or the different things that your business didn't get to because you were trying to solve talent and you were trying to solve that replacement. And so you had to spend your time sort of treading water in people rather than focusing on growth. You all know that because you're here, right? But so hopefully this is useful though if you need it for other people in your business. But this is my very real prediction for next year, and the data right now is telling us that it's very true. Question from Julia. And Julia, I love that you've asked a question in the comments. Everyone should be doing that. Question from Julia. What do you think about giving employees with longer tenure better incentives to stay, such as additional leave? I think that's a cracking idea, right? So just finding different ways to bring people on. I know that this came from the UK. A lot of English businesses add an extra day of annual leave a year for your first 5 years. So by the end of 5 years, you've got an extra. So at the end of year 1, you accrue an extra day of annual leave a year. At the end of day 2, so by the time someone hits 5, they've actually got an extra week of annual leave per year. I think that's a nice way of doing it. 1 year additional leave is like, look, that's great. I don't know like where that sits, but definitely like rewarding loyalty, I think is a really good idea. And you can see some statistics here. Organizations that effectively deliver on their VP can decrease employee turnover by under 70%, increase new hire commitment by 30%. I can see the question here from Eve. What do you think about 30-hour work weeks? I almost put this slide in here. I think the other big trend in 2023 is the year of the push for the 4-hour working week. The 4-hour working week, the 4-day working week. I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure from that. I think there's merit to it. I think there's a lot of work to make it work. But I think that this year, wage pressure and or 4-day work week for the same money. It's not going to be 4-day work for less money. They're just going to want to do 4-day work week for the same money. Yeah, sorry, Rich, wasn't 4-hour work week. But yeah, they're going to be the 2 big trends for this year. But really good points in the chat, and thank you for engaging over there. So that's all of the data. So if you want to invest in your employment brand, you can take those, you're going to get all of these slides, you can take it back into your business. But here's what I would say. First of all, you want to clearly define and articulate the wider business goals. So you want to say, hey, this year our company wants to achieve X. To help you achieve that in terms of HR, talent acquisition and retention, you need Y, right? We need to hire this many people and we need to keep this many people. That's going to be hard because, right? Like, here's the market, here's what's happening, here's what's going to be happening to salaries, here's what's happening to workload, here's what's happening to number of applications, here's what's happening to job hiring trends. If we don't invest in this sort of stuff, we're going to be paying in these different ways. And here's a bit of a structure for how we can address that. So that's how I would be building out the structure of my own internal employer brand and EVP business case as well. Perfect. All right. Now I want to get into the candidate journey framework. Before I do that, does anyone have any questions? Is there anything that you wanted to ask or any observations where you're seeing that sort of thing inside of your business that we're just speaking about? Salary pressures, hard to hire, more counter offers, 4-day work week pressure. Is that what you're all seeing? Given that we've got almost 200 HR and TA leaders in Australia here, it's like we will collectively know if it's true because you're doing it. Yeah, Kate, Alyssa, Jenny, 100%. Yeah, so yeah, it's like Mike, absolutely. It's like we're all part of it. We're all on the coalface of experiencing it, right? And everyone's sitting there with the list of hires that haven't been hired. Heather struggling with pressures of talent being poached. Yeah, absolutely. Kimberly, what other areas are difficult from IT? It's kind of across the board. The only area that's actually got a little bit easier was hospitality because they all got fired and then it became really hard. So all of a sudden we couldn't replace post-COVID. But that's kind of settled down now, but it's largely across the board. I've seen candidates accept offers and resign before they start. Yeah. So people taking it, like accept a job and then accept another job before they've started. Employees requesting double promotion. Yep. Salary perspective, unskilled hires. Do we have some sample business case studies? Not from an individual business, Deb. I'm going to show you some examples of employment brand stuff and case studies for sure. Struggling with sick leave, domestic violence leave, yeah. Skill shortage nationwide, yeah. It's and I'm glad that you're all sharing that so that I know that I'm not making things up, and also so that you know that you're not alone, right? Like there's like collectively across you, right? Like you actually represent a fair chunk of the Australian HR and talent workforce, right? This is the biggest HR event of the year so far because we've only just started. Massive attraction and tension for Nicola from a recruitment perspective, big gaps, big focus on internal mobility programs. Absolutely. I think internal mobility is going to be really big for this year as well. So better to keep people than lose people. And like internal mobility is like a core part, I think, of that, of your EVP. And remote work's so hard. Everyone wants to work from home, and then people also don't feel connected with their colleagues because they're working from home. And like we interview employees a lot, and there's this really common trend. People are frustrated that they're not feeling a sense of connection with their company and the people that they work with. Also, they don't want to go in there, and it's a tough challenge to fix, right? Like remote culture. And he built remote culture. Anyway, all right, awesome. Thank you for everyone for participating. And now let's go into, so what do you do about this, right? Like, let's actually explore how do you build your employer brand. For anyone here that's of a marketing background, you'll be familiar with the buyer journey. And we tend to look at your employer brand then from the lens of the candidate journey. So what's the different phases that someone goes through to join your organization? And then, so I'm going to talk through, this is the structure for today, essentially. I'm going to talk through each of these phases, right? So what questions does the candidate have at each phase? I'm then going to give you examples of what sort of content assets, what questions do they have and what actions are they taking for each of these 6 phases. Then what we're going to look at is what content assets does your business need to create to meet your potential new hire at each of those spots. Yeah, what content assets do I need to meet them here? What content assets do I need to meet them here? Then what we're going to go through is how do you, what's your marketing or amplification strategies to make sure that they see it at each of these phases? Yeah, so having the asset isn't enough. I also need to make sure that I'm putting it in front of that person when they're at that stage. So that's the big chunk of what today's going to be. I'm going to talk through these phases. I'm going to give you examples, plenty of examples of content assets for all of these. I will even ask you to tell me about your business in the chat, and I'll give you some examples of what it might be for your business as well. So we're going to go through all of this, and then at the end, there's some like templates. So you could go fill this in for your business. Yeah. So if I look at a candidate group, if I look at these 6 different phases, here's the questions that they've got. Here's what I need to be dropping in. Here's how I'm going to amplify it. And so you've actually really got like the bones and the structure of a employer brand content strategy or an employer brand marketing plan. My intent is that you have this, or you've got everything to do it yourself before the day's out. So here's the 6 different phases of this employer brand journey. So from the candidate perspective. So you've got this candidate, and at some point I begin to become open to opportunities. Yeah. And so this is not necessarily, I'm going to go into them all in more depth, but so I'll do a quick overview. Becoming more open to opportunities. Then what I do is I sort of move into this discovery phase, right? And so that's like, okay, well, if I am looking for work, they'll have a bit of a look, but I'm looking for a specific thing. So what are the promotion roles? What are the opportunities at my dream company? Where, what opportunities does that person who recently left have that I loved working with? We do those. I move pretty quickly from discovery into opportunity research. And opportunity research, how I would define or think about these differently for you is this: discovery is when I'm assessing the market. Opportunity is when they're assessing your business and your opportunity and your team. Yeah. So looking at the market, opportunity research is looking at you. Then there's this application process. So I decide to apply, and I'm navigating that process. People that have resumes, you might have different requirements for people to go through for applications. So that's going to be a part of their journey. Assuming that they're then invited for an interview, there's then this part of the journey that makes a massive difference in whether they accept or not. And you all know this, but your hiring managers don't. So people go through this interview process, and that experience is one of the big key parts where you actually need to triple down actually on your employer brands to help people get to yes. Because like we're seeing, right, multiple counter offers, people accepting and not starting, this bit's critical. Offer and acceptance, again, right, like we need to be thinking a lot about our employment brand at this phase. Also, from that onboarding, like I think of the candidate journey, like there's a blurry line from candidate to employee. But I know that line doesn't finish the day that they start, and I know that line doesn't finish the day that they accept. It's probably the first 3 to 6 months even as part of that, like the higher journey. So this is what we're going to look at today. You've probably seen something similar, but we're putting on the lens of a marketer, and we're going to look through this as well. And thanks everyone. I can see we've got like 170 has been floating around that. And I can also see that the 170 of you are still here as well, which I appreciate, right? So I'm grateful for you to be here and spending that time. So as a employment brand marketer that we're all sort of becoming for the next hour, one of the key things I'd recommend, Nicola, love this book, amazing. I'm glad that someone here has seen it. They ask you answer, right? And it's something that most people in a lot of like content marketing roles and inbound marketing roles and functions might have seen or read. And it's an approach to content marketing called They Ask You Answer. And so a lot of the time we spend when we're looking at our content strategy, we can design a lot of complex things, but one of the best ways to approach it is to say, here's the different phases of someone going from awareness to new hire. What are the different questions that they have at each of those phases? And then your content strategy becomes answering those questions. There's a lot of different ways you can approach content, but I really like this approach, and it's You almost don't need to read the book. You can read the cover and go, okay, yeah, I understand how that fits within our content strategy as well, right? The rest of that book's implementation. So that's what we're going to do right now, right? So first of all, if and you can see down here, this is the flow that we're going to look at for all of these different stages. So I've got my open to opportunities phase. We're going to look at the questions that they asked. We're going to look at the actions that they're taking. We're going to suggest some content assets that you can create to meet them at that point. And then I'm going to give you some examples of live stuff out in the market or live stuff that we've created as well, so you can see how that fits. Yeah, so questions they ask, actions they're taking, assets you can use to meet them in that spot, examples of what's there. So when I hit the awareness phase as a candidate, I've got these questions, right? How's the market? What's my, like, am I getting paid enough? Should I change jobs? What's my next best move? How do I ask for a promotion? How do I ask for a raise? How do I ask for more flexibility? How long should I stay? Is 12 months too short, too long? Is 10 years too short, too long? How do I prioritize money versus flexibility? Do I want 4-day work weeks? How do I improve my work-life balance? Am I experienced enough for a new role? I know that comes up a lot in diversity hiring as well, because guys, if I can speak on behalf of us, tend to be wildly overconfident in our abilities. But yeah, am I experienced enough for a new role? Am I already doing a more senior role but not being recognized? Am I too young, too old? Is it a good time to move? These are all of the types of questions that someone has at the very beginning of their employment journey. And so they're not asking about your business, and they're actually, most of the questions relate to their life and relate to the job that they're already in, right? Because dissatisfaction with the thing that I'm in is the beginning of me being willing to look outside of it. And so the actions that people are taking here are pretty straightforward. Yeah. So it's because there's industry news, there's social media, there's friends and colleagues, and add in their industry events and those sorts of things as well. Because I'm at this phase of that just being open, I'm more at the just living my life phase, right? So someone right now is at the living their life phase and doing my job phase. And so you need to meet them there. And that's why a lot of content assets at the beginning of your journey are about capturing attention on these places outside of your ecosystem, your jobs, your career page, because they're not there yet. If I'm not on your career page right now, you need to get me there somehow. So there's content assets that you need to create at this phase. And we're going to give you a little bit of a map of this at the end as well. So top of funnel, if anyone's ever heard this top of funnel, sorry, I should have changed the word for that. They talk about top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Top of funnel is catch me at awareness. Middle of funnel is I'm thinking about it, decisions, why you. But awareness stage blogs that talk about your business, talk about what's special, talk about industry, talk about trends, talk about what's happening in the market. News articles and PR outreach. I think that, if I think about brands like Canva did a phenomenal job of employer brand PR in particular, employer brand PR, which is why everyone on this call probably knows that Canva has a rock climbing wall and serves lunch and your dog can come, because they've done a phenomenal job of PR of those things. Industry thought leadership works really well. Spotlighting your team members works really well. So this is where these assets tend to live. Social posts, so ads that promote your EVP, all live here as well. Referral programs, so having referral programs and your talent pool programs as well. So that's what lives around here, and I want to show, and there's no surprises in that, but I want to show you the execution of it, and also show you some people, when they approach employer brand, James, spotlight my team members so recruiters can poach them. That's I do understand why you would be worried about that. The reality is that people will, it's our constant obligation to just be our employees' best option. It comes back to the whole, I shouldn't train my employees because they might leave. And it's like, yeah, but what if they stay and we haven't trained them? I'd always be spotlighting them. I'd be championing them and making heroes, and make them know that you do that and other places don't. You can see here, right, some like really good examples of EVP content. So you can see Combank have got these sort of like join our talent communities. And so they run, in fact, I'm going to start over here. They'll run different ads to graduates, actually having people talking about it, so some values in the background. My role is to create content for different people. So people will talk about what they do in the business. That will link to, hey, like, do you want to join our talent community? And then they're sending people there. So, but this YouTube ad it's videos of employees amplified to an ideal audience, then creating this little path backwards as an example as well. You can see here, this is a Canva article, but it's not on Canva, right? So this is appearing over on the MarTech, which do some employment brand stuff in that tech space as well. But I just like, it's an example of an article about careers, overviews, jobs, salaries, perks. It's all positive to the business, but it's not appearing on Canva. It's appearing on other websites, right? So that's employer brand PR, employer brand public relations, which works incredibly well. Again, employer brand PR. In fact, I feel like I shared some of this first. Canva, Australia's best place to work, has a farm, indoor climbing wall, gives employees equity, birthday cocktails. Canva, safety culture, Envato, amongst best Aussie employers. I just wanted to show you examples of employer brand PR, because most of us we don't think about public relations as an approach or a strategy or a tactic for your employer brand, but absolutely can. And we spoke a little bit today about the 4-day work week, right? Like that is there's there'll be a lot of talk about that this year. If your organization's doing something like that, then it's a phenomenal opportunity for PR. Business Insider, Inside Atlassian, we got an exclusive look at the tech company's new Sydney office. Again, employment brand PR. So it's meeting people in these places. Here's an article. This is from LinkedIn News, talking about increases in graduate salaries and graduate intakes. Accenture's offering these things. Here's what the different consulting firms are. Question from Ellie: integrated marketing digital PR works best? Absolutely. So the people we are seeking to influence don't spend all of their time in one place, so we shouldn't either, right? So it should always be integrated. And also, I think the people that we are seeking to influence are all at different stages of their journey, and so it can't be one message. We need to meet them all where they're at, and that's sort of the flow of what we're sort of working through today. So you can see there some examples. And the other thing is I'm not going to... I will send everyone that attends it a quick video on how you can go look at your competitors' LinkedIn ads. Me being an ex-LinkedIn nerd, I can show you exactly where you can go to look at your competitors' ads. So you can go see everyone's EVP ads, right? And if they're running ads to them. But you can see here, right? So Deloitte are running these ads. So, start here, keep growing, applications live for people graduating in 22, 23, careers at Deloitte. So all of that external market facing stuff, YouTube ads, right? So Deloitte's got these YouTube ads running with 80,000 odd views to it, and Facebook have career pages on LinkedIn. So there's no surprises there. And that's a lot of the stuff that you would typically think about when you're creating an employer brand's strategy, right? How do we get some articles? How do we run some ads? And maybe you hadn't thought about PR, but that's phase 1 of 6. Yeah. And so then today is then going to give you what can we do at all of those other sections as well. And then also how can we get in front of them at phase 1 too. So the next phase that I go through is then discovery phase. Yeah. So what questions is your ideal candidate asking? And so here I'm at this very beginning of the discovery. I've moved from I'm open to stuff. At discovery phase, I'm now saying what's out there. Yeah. So there's been this little shift in where I'm at in my journey. The reality is we move in between open and discovery a fair bit. It's not a linear process. We move backwards and forwards, like depending on how good our day's been, I think a lot of the time as well. But right, like what questions are people asking when they start looking at jobs? Yeah, I've stopped thinking about it and I've just started doing it. So at this point, I start saying what companies are hiring, what companies are good to work for, who has a lot of opportunity, who pays the best, what opportunities are specifically near me, right? So it could be geographic searches. What's flexible, what's remote, what are those different things there? What job titles am I suitable for? Like, can I apply for that senior thing, or can I apply for the 2-up senior thing that we were seeing as well? Which of these roles is the best career move for me? So we start thinking about navigating our career and saying, I want to go here. What's the next step in that journey? What are the best job boards? We've obviously got some big entrenched channels in Australia for looking for work, but that's like in different markets, right? So anyone here in like UK or US or Canada or Asia, like there's not the one, there's 15 or 20 that people are thinking about. Who are the best specialist recruiters? So I'm thinking a lot about that as well. How do I update my LinkedIn profile? Comment from Brooke there, Brooke, and I entirely agree as well. The next generation coming through are very big on purpose. They're very big on aligning the company to the values that they work with. So look, like one of our team left like just towards the end of last year, and she was phenomenal. It's like 24, and one of those like 99 point something UAI type people, really good at getting stuff done, did all of the right things. She actually, she's might reflect a lot of your employees. She came to us like, hey, I want all of these things. I'm like, that's amazing. We don't have it here for you yet, but we'll be, I would love to keep you, but if you're going, then we will be like, I will help you. And so she had this there were things that she was interested in. And by the end of her second week, she had 3 offers, but they directly related to things that she loved. And it was choosing between like one of her, or it was almost choosing between one of her interests, because she got offers in all of those 3 phases. And so that's what we're sort of facing. She knew exactly those verticals that she wanted, and by week 2 had 3 offers. And so yeah, like you're going to have to be bringing that in: values, beliefs, vision, mission. How are you communicating it? Yeah. What are people doing, right? So they're Brett. This is the no worries, Brooke. Thank you. I appreciate it. What actions is the ideal person taking, right? So now in my journey, this is when I start looking at job websites, right? So it is when I jump onto Seek. This is when I set up my LinkedIn job alert. I go look at a couple of jobs on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn says, hey, it looks like you're working. Do you want us to start sending you some stuff? So LinkedIn like notices that behavior when you look at a few jobs and prompts here. I probably check the career pages for my favorite companies. Yeah. So I'm not at a point where I've got a resume and I'm applying for everything, but I am specifically looking at those couple of companies that I love, and saying, hey, what have they got? I'm looking at stuff near me. A lot of speaking with past colleagues and recently left past colleagues, so there's a lot of like, one of my good friends went to company X and she's told me how great it is now. And so they catch up with them for a coffee or a drink, and how, like, you seem like you like that new place. How's it going? There's checking salaries on Glassdoor and employer review sites. On Seek, like, I don't think I've put a screenshot of it here, but like Seek brings in reviews now. Like you need a Seek review strategy as part of your employer brand. I'm Googling best recruiters for XXX, right? Especially if I'm looking at engaging with a recruitment agency or someone to like help me navigate that process as well. So that's what I'm doing, right? I'm looking for a specific thing rather than lots of things, and I'm researching those specific things at a discovery phase. So then we say, okay, well, how do we meet people at this phase? Yeah. So for us, when we want to grow our employer brand, how do we meet them here? A few things. So this is where your career page now starts to come in. Your career page matters, particularly, for the early stage people looking for roles, particularly as well. So exactly what Brooke was saying there in the chat, like. If people are looking for people, this new generation, I feel so old, but they're looking at things that align with their values and what matters to them. Like, you need a place to showcase that and tell that story. So that becomes a lot more important. I'm looking at LinkedIn ads. I'm looking at job boards. I'm looking at your careers videos. They should be appearing in different places. They should be embedded in your job ads. I'm looking at all of the best places to work awards. I'm looking at Glassdoor reviews. I'm looking at Google search ads, your referral program and your talent pool program, like they become really important here. So I just spoke about that example of like the catching up with someone who left recently. Your referral program is most effective actually for your new hires. Like, we all think that it's, for our established people to refer us. They don't know. They only know people that work with you now. It's people who have just joined you in your first 6 months that are actually going to be your richest source of referrals. I'll talk a little bit about that there. Talent pool programs. Cool. So that's the sort of thing at this phase. I can see from Jane's, how popular is Glassdoor? Seems US oriented. Seek review strategy, paid dividends based on feedback. Awesome. Yeah. So Glassdoor is it's US centric, but it's changing. It's US centric, but it still tends to be the only or the first thing or one of the first things that people find when they search for this stuff. So it's still, I'd say that it's US centric, but it still is very Aussie trafficked. There's still a lot of Aussies finding it and spending time on that. And like, you can actually like see on that. This is like big marketing nerds. We can see companies' website traffic, so like prediction of it. I can see from New Nest, very relevant to Australia. Yeah, it's well trafficked there. Seek review strategy paying dividends, absolutely. Humans are hardwired for social proof, so seeing those 5 stars in the reviews is really important. Zoe, what's the thoughts on asking the CEO to review us on Glassdoor? Look, I see he wants to encourage us to do it. Look, I personally would encourage them to do it. I personally am for it. I do understand the reservation of, if you press people into doing it, it's a little bit artificial. I think it should just be done gently, but I do think that you should encourage employees to give you reviews in those places. Technology industry uses it as a guide when selecting. Great. So some insight from Jenna there as well. Glassdoor works. Alicia, Glassdoor was acquired by Indeed. Yeah, right. So they're integrating a lot of Indeed with it. Indeed have very deep pockets and have been growing a lot in Australia as well. A buddy of mine from LinkedIn was their head of sales for many years. Right, so we can see here, right, people are building out their Glassdoor profiles. I'm looking at career pages for different brands. Defence Jobs Australia, you can see that it's building out these pages for leadership roles. So they're building out their careers pages inside of LinkedIn. You can see here CommBank. So this is Commonwealth Bank's Glassdoor page, right? And so we can see over 4,000 reviews. And this is an Australian business, so it's probably a good example. Their jobs are listed there, the salaries, feedback from interviews, lists of benefits, photos, all those sorts of things. So I should have got Glassdoor to sponsor today, right? But I'd check them out. But that's where you want to be meeting people in that discovery phase. Yeah. So when I'm open to opportunities, you have to put stuff in front of me. You have to interrupt me. Now, when I hit this discovery phase, that's when I'm looking at your career page, your presence on these different platforms, and those sorts of things as well. If you don't have a company presence on Seek, can you claim a page? I'll have my email at the end, sean@eloquent.com.au. But if you SEAN, but Alicia, feel free to drop me an email, and I can show you how you set it up. It's easy. You just need to be running ads on there, basically. But it's there's a link. Follow a link, you'll set it all up. Opportunity research phase, right? And so the candidate has gone from, I'm open to work, I'm researching companies. Should I apply for you? Should I apply for this role? Right? So this is the next phase in this journey. Different set of questions. Some of the places where you're going to tell the story is the same, but the content assets are different. So as a candidate, I'm now in this. Is this a good company? Is this a good role? Do I want to work there? Where's it based? What's the salary? Do I know people that have worked here? What's the culture? Will it be meaningful? Right, coming back to that vision, mission, purpose. Is it having a positive impact? Are there opportunities? Are there the right opportunities? Are there flexible opportunities? What are the perks? Am I qualified? Right. So these are all of the different questions that people have when they're at that phase, right? If you're thinking about what to include on your career page, it should be almost that structure and that like those questions answered. It should almost be the content of your career page. And that's sort of how we reverse engineer when we're creating careers pages. We think about, is this person, here's all the different questions that they have, all the information that they're seeking, and then how does your business answer or offer each of those things, sort of get sequenced down the page when you're building out a career page. I am looking for this information on websites, reviews, your videos, your benefits, your Google reviews, company pages, LinkedIn profiles of your employees. I'm asking colleagues, I'm finding people that I know that work there, and asking about that. Job benefits comparisons. I'm looking at annual reports. I'm looking at Google Maps, right? So all of those sorts of activities people are taking as I move from discovery to decision. Do I apply for this opportunity? Even if they're like finding this stuff on Seek, you need to find ways to bring that stuff in there to the front as well. So that's the questions I've got there. I can see a question from Chloe and then Kimberly backing her up as well. In your opinion on salary transparency, now that there is the secure jobs, better pay pill, should we be posting salaries to ads? How do I predict it changing? It's interesting. So I personally am very for salary transparency. I think it helps people not feel like the person sitting next to them is getting a better deal. I think it solves for a lot of concerns that people might have about pay equity and gender pay, being able to see those different things there. I know that, like, so we can see the data whenever there's a salary and a job ad, more people apply, right? Because it's, they've got a level of certainty that it was in the right ballpark for them. And so I'm a big fan for it. I actually have a slide coming up of a company who took this radical approach to salary transparency about a few years back. So I'm going to show you, but I am very much for it. But also I understand and appreciate that getting there may be a very long journey for a lot of organizations, and hard to navigate, because getting people all onto the one thing, they're not all on the same thing right now. But I do think, having bandings and those sorts of things. LinkedIn had very transparent, like, when you're in this job, here's the salary range, here's 4 bands within the range. If as you're achieving each of them, you will move within bands. When you get promoted, you move to the next. And it was great. People knew what was happening. It was really good. So Brad there, Seek also have this data very strongly advertising for including salary. Yeah, absolutely. Great questions, guys. Keep them coming. And that's what makes this like worth showing up live for. Also, thank you. I was like, we've still almost got the 100. Everyone's still here. So all of you are still here. So there's about 170 of us. So thank you. I'll keep moving. I'm going to go a little bit faster to make sure I hit time. So I'm doing these assets. Now what I've got to do. So retargeting ads, right? So most people don't think about this, and here's some of these aha moments that you might get that are value from today. But I use this example a lot, but we were looking for a trampoline for my kids at Christmas. I look at one trampoline on the internet. All of a sudden, all I see is trampolines everywhere, right? The brands of trampolines that I look for are following me across the news and every website that I go to. It's a thing called retargeting, and also lookalike audiences. So most companies don't realize you can pop a pixel on your page, just it's like a little tag or a little cookie. We're all familiar with that wording, but you can retarget your career page visitors. Yeah. So Everyone that comes to your career page, you can be showing your EVP videos to. Everyone that comes to your career page, you can be putting ads in front of. Everyone that comes to your career page can get a LinkedIn direct message from the company saying, hey, do you want to check out some of our jobs, or do you want me to connect you with a recruitment team? You can do that stuff, yeah? So retargeting ads from your career page visitors, because I'm reviewing you, but not necessarily applying. So that process, you've got to influence that decision for a while. Employee testimonial videos. So it's a content asset that helps people say yes and apply if they can see themselves reflected in those videos. The other thing I would be doing here is so your benefits brochures. So every company will have a benefits brochure about all of the good stuff that you give your employees, but it's gated. You hide it until someone starts. Whereas actually you should be bringing this stuff into the beginning of the process, right? Like anyone should be able to download the benefits, and it should look beautiful, and it should look glossy, and you should have all of this great stuff for people about why they should work at your business. Work with us videos, culture business, your reviews. So before we talked about here's the actions that people are taking, that's why these are the actions that you need to be taking, right? Google review campaigns, Glassdoor campaigns, LinkedIn career pages, getting it all set up, or at least overhauling your company one if that's not a budget there. Your referral programs, career events, all of those sorts of things live there as well. I'm going to play this a little bit later. It's some of the EVP work that we've done for like a big billion-dollar mining company that's got to hire a few hundred people. David has a question. What's your view on asking candidates to answer selection criteria when applying for a role as government or uni? Look, I appreciate that governments and educational institutions are large organizations with particular administrative requirements. So you may not be able to get away from asking it. Also, I think that it completely misses the reality of today's job market. I should have put this slide up at the front. Right now, today, right, the thinking of it's a privilege for someone to come work with us and they need to prove that they are good enough is outdated. Yeah, you are not a buyer of talent. What you need to be is a seller of opportunities. Yeah, this is a great place to work. We've got this, we've got this, we've got this. The mentality of my wife, we met at Hayes, but she's now a primary school teacher. She was applying for a role. And so she had to do like 4 pages of selection criteria, and it had to be 9-point font with the right margins. Like there's a mentality of you will be lucky to work here, and jump through all of these difficult to jump through hoops before applying for a job. And you lose so many people. And so I think that selection criteria is it's rooted in a time when the job was the prize. So look, if you're in a big government organization, I get it. There's going to be requirements and there's going to be policies. Also know that it's hurting you. And the purpose of a job advertisement is it's an advertisement, right? So it's supposed to promote the opportunity. The purpose of a screening process is to screen. It's to find the right people. So I think that we're trying to make our marketing do our job for us. But attraction and screening should be different things that stay in separate places, is my personal opinion on that. I can see the notes from Alicia and Nicola there. Stuck in the past, educating of that mindset, definitely. So for one of the big government departments, I actually recorded a video to educate hiring managers, and they distributed it with some of those data points that we just saw. So they actually, the head of TA, sort of gave this as this third-party voice of here's what's happening. It's really interesting as well. I'm going to keep moving or I'll never give you all of the content. Career pages. You can see here as well, right? So for EVP content, here's Combank. What I just wanted to show you is see the ads for their risk team have risk videos. Yeah. The ads, so they're producing content at a line of business level makes a massive difference. And I know that every business isn't Commonwealth Bank and has the resources of Commonwealth Bank, but if you're looking at employment brand videos, think it like generally there's this 80-20 rule that will apply where there's probably 3 job functions that are account for 80% of your roles. You can absolutely, at the same time that you're doing this broad overarching thing for the business, the same day you can actually film those other things, right? Like talk about those 3, the 80-20, those core roles that make up a bulk of your hiring. It's way more cost effective to do it at the same time that you're making something, because it becomes more of an editing job rather than a big job. Meet our cyber graduates. You can see there, Commonwealth Bank, they're running traffic to cyber graduates. Born to Help, Canva. So a lot of these are linked as well. So when you send through, you can go through and have a click. So now I've decided I'm looking for a job. I've researched businesses. I've researched your business. Now I'm deciding that I'm going to hire. And again, the job of employer brand hasn't finished. It's actually just starting. If I come back to that person, Georgia, G. So G from our team who took another role, she had 3 different offers, all with promotions and 30% plus pay increases from companies that align with her values. How she made the decision of where she would work actually was based on the hiring manager interview, right? It was actually what that person said during that phase. So it's important to recognize that employment brand is flowing all the way through. It's not the ad at the beginning. So when I'm applying, do I meet the requirements? What's the process? Do I apply direct? Do I reach out? Do I go for a recruiter? Do I need a cover letter? What's the salary? Where's my resume? What's the process looks like? Will they do after hours? Will they do Zoom? People want to know all this stuff. They're getting their resume ready. They may be making cover letters. They're reviewing your job ads. They're looking at people's LinkedIn profiles they're going to be meeting with. They're looking at your ATS and your careers hub. So what you need to then be doing is answering all of those questions. So having a really strong FAQ in terms of your career page and those sorts of things is great. In terms of promoting content asset, it actually becomes a job of almost marketing automation at this point. So most applicant tracking systems now, or candidate CRMs, you can send people a couple of different assets, right? Whether they're successful or unsuccessful for that matter. So you can give them content assets. And also what you want to be doing at this point is making it easy for them to understand the process of how they go through it. You can see here, this is a really nice infographic from Salesforce, and it's like steps. Explore your roles, right? And here's our different teams. Get ready for your application. Here's different resources to make it easy for you. Apply for your dream job. Here's the stuff that we've got. What to expect at the interview. Here's different things. Grow, keep learning, right? And this actually shows you their learning and development programs and all those sorts of things, right? So these sorts of approaches, like actually creating some FAQs, and if it's some visual FAQs, all the more better. Send these to people when they apply for your jobs. Yeah, so have that set up as a nurture system. Retarget visitors to your career page with frequently asked questions and what does the process look like for people who come to your career page but don't apply for a job, right? So we need to be doing those sorts of strategies here. This is actually just an more from that one on Salesforce, the FAQs. Can I apply for multiple jobs? Do you come to my uni? What if I need accommodation? Do I need a technical background? How do I prepare for virtual? What are the benefits, right? Answer all of this stuff. It's really easy for you to make an FAQ. I had someone ask about boomerang hires before. I'm a big fan of boomerang hires. I mentioned I work at LinkedIn. LinkedIn work really, the alumni of people who work there are strong. They have boomerang hires all the time. Lots of people come back. I've bought, I actually buy stuff from ex-LinkedIn alumni who are in different places and do things like that. But yes, having boomerang hires is really important, and promote them and spotlight them. And here's an example of again, Salesforce do exactly that. They're spotlighting boomerang hires on their career page. This person left and they came back. And actually, for me, that says an immense amount about an organization when they spotlight people that come back. Also because it shows me that the company didn't lose their mind when someone changed a job, because Like some companies can make that mistake. Interview process. So now I'm in the interview process with your organization. Thank you everyone for sticking on past that 11 o'clock mark. I know some of you have meetings and those sorts of things, and I'm going to keep moving through. So when I'm at this phase here, right, so I'm actually interviewing, again, different set of questions. Yeah? How long is it going to take? What are you looking for? Are there assessments? Are there testing? When do I need references? Do I give them now? Are they telling the truth? Do I like the people I'm meeting? Could I work for them? Could I manage them? Will the owners let go of their responsibilities? We hired a GM. That was her first question for us. Like, are you going to be able to let go and move back? What do I wear? Is it a nice place? How easy is it? Where's the last person? What happened to them? People are asking all of these questions, so that's what you need to be answering. The people are interviewing with your team members. They're also interviewing with your competitors. They're communicating with your internal recruiters. They're communicating with your external recruiters. They're speaking with their family, their friends, their colleagues about the thing that they're interviewing for. They're opening emails from your business. So that's what I'm doing when I'm in that interview process. These are the content assets to build your employer brand while people are already interviewing for you, so they're more likely to say yes. Yeah. And it's so important. People are more likely to say yes. You're more likely to get more people that say yes to your offer if you do a good job at this stage. Yeah. What to expect emails, recruitment process infographics, about your interviewer, right? Like create a blog or make a video about the person that they're meeting with, either the hiring manager or the CEO or the recruiter. And these don't have to be high tech now, right? Like a lot of this stuff is very affordable or free. You can do this and actually show them these things before they join. Send them links to their LinkedIn profiles. You might know people in common. Give them interview frequently asked questions. All of this stuff ideally should live inside of your applicant tracking system automatically. When people are getting interview confirmations, when they're getting thank yous, all of those things, all of this stuff should live there always. So give them all of this, but it's still content marketing and it's still EVP and it's still branding. You can see KPMG here, like, note there from James, we give them an interview guide, people love it. That's it. It's like an interview isn't like, it's not a trap or a trick, right? And we all know this as HR and TA people. It's not asking people how many doors they think there are on earth. It's making people comfortable so that they can share a lot about themselves. And if you have your interview as a series of tricks, you only get people who are good interviewers, not necessarily good employees. But yeah, so I can see Melissa's asked about good ATSs. Please share any of your recommendations in the comment, but I would love to hear from you guys rather than me suggest a bunch. So let Melissa know some of your favorite ATSs in the comments, and I'll keep going here. KPMG, Combank, here's the recruitment process outlet. And if I know that all of your Combank have lots of resources, but also they're like, it's hard for a business that big with so many different departments to codify their process. So I'd actually say, if they can do this, you can do. This is something your marketing team we can do it on Canva, right? Like, don't let it be too hard. Again, careers FAQs, Westpac FAQs. So build those things in, like they do work really, really well. So now you're offering me a job. Yeah. So now I'm at this offer phase. Different set of questions. How will this impact my career? Should I negotiate the salary? Should I ask for a bonus? Should I ask for the title? Can I negotiate work from home? Are the bonuses reasonable? Does this compare to my other offers? Do I wait to hear back? Like, are they going to offer a higher salary? Do I withdraw? Do I accept my counter offer? Is the timing right? Am I making a mistake? Or the old classic, like, when do I tell them about my 6-week holiday in 2 months' time that I've already booked? Right? Like, I'm convinced people accept the job, then book the holiday and tell people that it was already done. It just happens too often. But yeah, right. So I have all of these questions at the interview. Again, speaking with family, friends, recruiters, I've handed in my notice, I'm going on my farewell lunch. I've got all of this stuff that's happening there as well. Marketing to people you have a job offer to or who have recently accepted a job offer, critical, right? Like, are you sending employee testimonial videos with your job offer? It's like, absolutely. Do you have employee benefits brochures with your job offer? Like, You should. Do you have your learning and development policy? Have you made it beautiful? And does that go with all of your job offers? It should. Don't have it in a new hire starter pack. Have it go out to people at their offer, if not before. How salaries are structured here. We had the question about salaries. Like, if you have transparency on salaries, show them. I would love to see that. And it would make me feel good about whatever I accepted, because maybe I'm like, well, I didn't make a mistake negotiating here or there because there's transparency. That's what it is. If you've got transparency and you can show them that at the offer stage, people are actually far less likely to then have painful negotiations. They know what the structure is and they'll be very clear on it. Learning and development brochures, internal mobility, all of those things there. Note from Corinne, what about reference and background checking can take time? All of this stuff should be, well, I guess I'm talking about marketing rather than the process. All of this is the stuff that should make the person hang on during that time of references. I've talked a lot. Let me get a drink of water. People talking about their internships, mobility processes. Buffer, right? So Buffer is a tech platform. We talked about transparency of salaries. Buffer, since 2013, have a formula for how they pay people. And they've got a formula for how they pay bonuses. It is published internally. It is published on their website. And anyone can go look at the salaries of Buffer employees on their website. At least they did at the time I took the screenshot, right? So this is amazingly unique, right? So, Buffer was quite radical about this stuff. There it is, right? Like, there's Joel, and he's the CEO, and he's on 290 US. There's I can't read the name there, Care. There's a chief of staff. Literally surfaced all of this stuff. And based on, when you spend $10 on Buffer, here's what goes to salaries, culture, tools, hosting, fees, and profit, right? Like, amazing, right? Like, so I can absolutely see businesses in the future getting to be more like Buffer. They're ahead of their time. Your onboarding phase, right? And so I've accepted the role. Maybe it's coming up to my first day. Your EVP is still more important than ever. More important than ever, right? Because it's so, when I say expensive, it's expensive in a lot of different ways. When someone accepts a role and doesn't start, or accepts the role and leaves after the first week. Alicia, got to go. Amazing. We'll send through some stuff. Thanks. Did I make a mistake? Should I take that counter offer? Should I return the call from that recruiter? What happens on my first day? What's the dress code? What sets me up for success? Do I feel welcome? Do I need a laptop? Do I need a phone? What are the hours? Who do I ask? How long? How much? How do I get paid? People have all these questions right here. I'm going to farewell lunches. I'm still getting those counter offers. I'm still, all of those jobs that I applied for, the recruiters, I'm getting called from all of them still, with attractive offers and persuasive recruiters encouraging me that they've got something worth looking at. So all of that's happening, right? This is employer brands. And I'd say this is almost some of the most important stuff. A CEO welcome to the team video, or a hiring manager welcome to the team video, makes a massive difference in their feeling of commitment. What to expect brochures, having a nurture sequence and an SMS nurture sequence, right? Do you have an automatic SMS from their hiring manager the week before saying, looking forward to you starting, here's my number if you've got any questions, right? Start your referral program now, right? Before they've started, because they're having their farewell lunch with the other people that they work with. What's the tech policy? A lot of people in technology companies want to know that. A photo of the team that you can send them, right? All of that stuff as well. And again, this is not a content asset, but I'd highly, highly recommend, just part of your process should be a hiring manager coffee or a virtual coffee for 15 minutes the week before they start. It'll make sure that people are coming. You'll see their level of commitment. You'll know any other questions. It's a really great way to onboard people. So yeah, not marketing, but great process and strong influencer of EVP. You can see here, this company, they actually they interview employees about what their first day was like, and then they send that to people who have started or accepted roles with them. Right? So powerful, so strong at building your employment brand, so much more likely for people to show up on their first day. Right? Welcome to the team, new hire information packs. So this is the model that we've spent time, and I know that it's tempting to now go, but I'm about to give you all links and stuff so you can download everything. This is the model that we've just built out, then turned into a single slide. As they go through, open to opportunities, discovery, research, application, interview, acceptance, onboarding. As I move through these, I have different phases. Should I, what, why this, how do I navigate it? Do I like them? Do they like me? Do I say yes? Did I make the right choice? Right? I have all of those questions. There's assets that your business will need to meet them, to answer each of those questions. Thought leadership, spotlights, blogs, social ads, through your career page, job ads, review strategy. Then when I'm on your website, like career pages, testimonials, hiring manager videos, work with us, all of those sorts of things. When I'm applying, right now it becomes about your applicant tracking system, process infographics, new hire, all of those FAQs, which then goes through into this interview process, right? What happens during it? And then your offer acceptance, again, testimonials, benefits brochures, L&V brochures, internal mobility guides, all of those things. And then once I've said yes, right, like welcome videos, hiring manager welcome video. I say videos a lot. Videos work really well because they humanize people in marketing, I feel. Welcome videos, what to expect in your first day videos, technology policies, employee referrals, all those sorts of things as well. Like all of that stuff lives here too. I'm going to send this through for you, but then begins to become the type of thing that you create and present in your business. Yeah. Here's our vision and mission. Here, like for the company, here is a promise for our EVP, right? Now what I can do is here's these different phases. Here's the specific content assets that I'm going to go make. And here's how I'm going to amplify it to put it in front of the right person, right? So we're going to send this through for you. And if we're working together, this is the sort of stuff that we will build for you or build and create for you, right? So all of these different content assets, and this is just showing you examples of how it all actually comes together for a hypothetical sort of company. So check that out. Still got 140 of you here. Amazing. YouTube ads, I'm going to go quick. YouTube is amazing. Video works really well at humanizing. As just a rule of thumb, like you should be almost spending as much on amplification as you do on creation. So a lot of companies spend a lot of money making content assets, but they don't spend money promoting. Hey, Mabel, stay for 4 seconds if like you're starting this journey, because then the next thing's for you. But yeah, so you want to be like use YouTube ads. There's some specific YouTube strategies. Employee testimonial videos, brand videos, job video ads, retargeting. Like YouTube's amazing. And then LinkedIn, obviously I'm ex-LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. But like sponsored content, recruitment ads, you can power your referral programs in there. You can do sponsored emails, retargeting people that have come to your different pages. You can build out your company pages in there. So James, is YouTube useful for regional location? Yeah, like Google owns YouTube. You can I can drop a 5-kilometer radius on a postcode to target people. So I in YouTube could go people who have looked at Seek, who also are following, also have a GitHub account. People who go to Seek and GitHub because I need technology people in a 5K radius of Bendigo, right? Like you can run ads like that on YouTube. It's amazing. There's different ways we can work together. Where we can help. Now, this is usually where I log off and leave these sorts of things, but I promise there's only 3 minutes, so it's not going to be a big pitch. There's 3 ways we can work with you. I'm going to spend time talking about this. Essentially, we've created a done with you coaching program, which costs a fraction of what it would usually be for us. And this is something we've just created, because usually we're creating it all for you, right? Creating all of these assets, building out your strategy, creating it. We've actually taken 6 years of everything that we've done and turned it into a program that we could do together, right? So if you're beginning this journey, so I'll tell you about that. The other way that we can help you is if you need to define your EVP, we've got a really robust process around it. So we interview your employees, we turn that into something where we can then survey or poll all of your employees, we benchmark your competitors, and then we give you back an employer brand architecture. So what's your positioning, your messaging, your strategy, your timeline, and we create a content plan for you based on everything that they said. Yeah, so we can go ask all of your employees and ask your recent hires about what makes you special and about how they found the experience, and then give you recommendations on that stuff. Or we can actually implement it for you, right? So if you need someone to create your strategy, like create all those videos, write all those blogs, run all those ads, like that's what we've been doing for 6 years, and we're really good at it. Thank you, everyone, there for the feedback as well. That's awesome. And I'll I'll send all of this through. What the program will look like, if you're still here and listening, and I hope you are, because it's pretty cool and I'm proud of what we've made. It works through it's like 6 months, and it's actually super cheap or like very affordable, I would say. In the first month, it's actually all of the stuff that we use to go interview and poll and take internal research. What's our AVP? How strong is it? Where do we need to work? Why do people love working here? The stuff that we deploy for people in our consulting business, we give to you and then show you how to use it. So you'll get like, here's a physical survey that you can edit and then send to everyone. And then here's how we're going to like jump on a call, and we're going to get together and like, how do I take the answers and turn it into our EVP? How do we assess everything? So all of those tools at the end of month 1, you've done that employee consultation process. Month 2, it's actually then developing your employer brand architecture. Yeah. So like today we haven't even touched on that stuff, but we can actually, sorry, I'm like losing my voice at the end of talking for an hour and a half. We can build your employer brand architecture, like actually what the promise is that you take to market. How do you make it compelling? How do you make it beautiful? And it's based on all of the insights that you get from that first phase. And so we give you everything that you need, basically everything that we do internally. Go have a limb sip. Thanks, Lucy. The third module, right? So the third month. So you understand what your employees want and need and where you're at. Month 2, you actually define and create your own beautiful, compelling positioning. We've got a structure based on what we know from marketing. Month 3, it's then we go through into best practice career pages and your job ad templates. We give you wireframes for the structure of your career page. We show you how the insights that you get plug into that wireframe, copywriting frameworks, and then it's actually like workshops and consulting hours, right? So you get our time to help you implement all of it. Together, like imagine if this whole session was actually just us together creating your content calendar. So you do all of that together, you get individual sessions. Then it goes into how do we create all those assets. So we show you how to film everything, how to write everything, how to interview, and hacks to get it done quickly, right? So how can you get different people inside of your business on camera? Can you get them filming things? How can you get them writing blogs? How can you ghostwrite them for them? We give you all of this stuff to make it really, really easy. And then we do it for you. So, when we do it with you more specifically. So at the beginning of the month, we'll say, hey, so now we're going to create all these assets. You can create this. Here's the templates, go ask people. And then we'll have these follow-up sessions, right? So every week it's like, you can come and ask us more questions. There's group coaching, there's one-on-one. And then it's how do we promote those things, right? Like we will give you like recordings of going and setting up the YouTube ads and the LinkedIn ads. So you can actually go and promote all of those things without needing to engage someone to do it all for you. Thanks, Amber. Appreciate it. So all of the checklists, how do you set up your targetings? We run it live. We give you the recordings of how to do it. And then we run different sessions for you to go and implement it as well. And then the last month is what I'd call embed and evolve. Like building a brand never stops. But then what you can do is then it's like, how do we just embed growing our employer brand as part of what we do, right? So how do we keep asking people what they like? How do we refine it? So how do we systemize that? How do we measure what's working? So there's dashboards and strategies and all the measurements you need for that. What's a maintenance guide? So basically you can come back and prove that stuff's worked. Even if you're not using us for this stuff, that's what your internal rollout should look like if you're doing this, right? Consult with your employees, build your brand architecture, layer in the foundations for your career pages and your job ads, create the content that tells the story, what makes your business unique. You got to tell that. You then need to go amplify that. You need to put it in front of the right people. And then you need to embed it so that's something that you always do and just always get better at. Building a brand isn't just something that happens once in isolation. Everyone, thank you so much for the feedback there. I really appreciate it. What we've done, and look, I can actually still see there's like 100 of you here out of everyone. So thank you so much for sticking with me, because I know we're right on time. It's circa $2,000 a month, but a little cheaper depending on your payment options that we're putting. The big thing I want to tell people is it's actually 3 attendees from your organization. When you're doing your EVP, it's HR and it's talent acquisition and it's marketing. So creating alignment between those 3 groups of people is so important. Thanks, Kate. Creating alignment amongst those 3 groups of people is so important. And we can do that, right? So you can actually, all 3 of you go through the same learning and same execution process together, which works really well. You get all the learnings, templates, white file structures, checklists, consulting sessions. Thanks, Christy. You finish with employee consultation, brand architecture, wireframes, job ad training that we usually charge a lot for, content marketing, checklists, employee engagement, how to roll out your EVP internally is included in there, how to drive in your internal referral program, walkthroughs for setting everything up in there. Our ad writing masterclass, it's usually a greater person. You've got 3 tickets in there. And we're looking to kick this off week commencing Monday, the 27th of February. So it's only about 3 weeks away, which gives people time to ask questions. This isn't like run to the back of the room and buy it now. Basically, if you're interested, we're going to send something where you can connect with us afterwards. So we'll send that through. Now, for everyone that's here, so you can see here, you can scan this QR code. You can go to EVP/event. And right now, all of the stuff will be there. And then also, so if you want to download the hard copy of all of the slides, grab that or visit the URL. The QR code just takes you to the URL. So whatever's going to be easiest for you. So you can do that now and download the slides. And then also I'll send an email with a recording. That'll probably come through tomorrow. So then you'll have the recording. The recording is actually a great way for you to share this content with other people inside of your business as well. Thank you, Brooke. Appreciate it. We've done this for a lot of big brands and companies and big professional services and tech companies. And here's lots of smiling people saying that we do a really good job for them and that they love what we did and that they're really happy. And here's, again, a little bit about us. So 6 years at Eloquent, and my business partner, Rich, who ran marketing for Michael Page globally. There's Rich's details, and I'll send through mine also. So here's the good bit. If you're still, and so there's 3 ways we can work together. So hopefully you found today useful and insightful, and there's stuff that you can go action. And then if you want it's like the most affordable build the skill inside of your own business, and for you is go on like a group program together, right? And so it's like a done together type of arrangement. Or we can come and do it for you, right? So we've got teams of videographers and strategists and graphic designers and copywriters and ad writers and web designers and paid traffic people and Google experts and YouTube experts. So we can bring all of this stuff to life for you. We've done it a lot of times, so your EVP is in safe hands. For the 57 of you still here, good job. Let me know any questions, and it can be about what I've just gone through, or it can be about anything, right? So I will happily sit here and answer questions, whether it's for you or for your organization, for as long as you need them answered for. Hey, Mabel, Polly, thanks, Polly. That's very kind of you. I feel like sometimes I'm a little bit cheesy, but hopefully online's hard, so I hope I gave you some energy. Mabel will be Sydney based. Yeah, so that's we're in Barangaroo Tower 1. So behind me, that's the Sydney Harbour out there. So we're in Barangaroo. The team aren't in the office in here with me today because it's awkward for them or mostly awkward for me if they're listening in while I do this. But yeah, so we're based in Sydney, work all over Australia. Just drop me a note, and and then Sally, so we're going to send out the recording, slides, resources all come after this as well. So I think Demio actually even automatically sends through this recording for you. Good question there from Chloe. So business of under 100 employees, should there be a certain number of people before you start thinking about your EVP? So you should always be thinking about your EVP. How much you should be spending on it varies depending on the size of your business, and how in depth you go varies. And also, I would say it's how many people you need to hire, right? Because you might have 100 employees but need to hire another 100. So I would say it's I'm going to take it from the top. You already have an employer brand. Employer brand is just what people think about you. So people, if you don't know what your EVP is, it just means that you don't have a handle, like other people are choosing what it is. So, but there's a reason why people work there, and there's a level of people who know or don't know about you. So for them, they're like extending that. If I've got 100 employees, I'd say the big thing for me to think about is how many people I need to hire and what's the value of a person, right? So 100 people at a professional services firm is a huge professional services firm, right? So it depends what your 100 people are doing. And the cost of a hire inside of your business. Like, for what it's worth, right? Like that, our Done For You program costs about half of a recruitment agency fee. Just to like create context, so if you're going to do 10 agency fees this year, then there's an easy, obvious ROI to building stuff better yourself. And thank you everyone for all of the feedback there as well. But yeah, so Chloe, you should always be thinking about your EVP. How deep you go and how much you invest will depend on how many people you need to hire and what those type of people are, is how I'd say it. But there's a bunch of free, cheap things that you can do. And like that sort of Done With You program, we created specifically for businesses like that. There's lots of 1,000 people organizations or 100,000 people organizations that we can, need people to do it for them. But then there's people that want sort of a Done With You type of thing as well. I'll answer James, then Carly. James, no worries, Chloe. What are your feelings on external referral programs? Payment for someone who comes across an opportunity and refers a candidate. It's interesting, right? So how do we reward people outside of our business for participating in a referral program? I can't say I've ever seen it work well. I just haven't seen them get a lot of traction, to be honest. Even if you don't work here, you can refer. I've seen companies that have tried to leverage that model. I know that there's SaaS platforms that can plug into your job board widget and try to drive that stuff. If I look at a job on your website, but it's not me, it's someone else, I can press a button and send it to them and it tracks it, all that sort of stuff. I've never seen it really get traction. I'm not saying it's not going to work. I can't tell you a time that I have. So if I was imagining my list of things that I'm going to do, I'd probably place it, it's down the bottom somewhere in terms of my impact of doing it, my confidence it's going to work, and the ease of implementing it. What I would say when I think about external referral programs, what I would encourage you to do is go find your industry body and maybe offer some sort of deal partnership thing with them, right? We work with a lot of industry bodies, and so if you think about the AIPM Institute of Project Managers, if you want, you can go run a co-branded webinar with AIPM. You can do it with SIPS, who's the industry procurement body. You can do it with CPA. You can do it with CA. Go find an industry body that's already got all of the people that you want to talk to and try to co-brand something, and maybe you'll have to pay or maybe you won't. Go find trade news publications and offer to do something with them. Maybe they'll have a pricing for it, maybe they won't. A lot of them have prices for email drops. So I can go find a niche trade publication and pay a very small amount to email everyone on their list, right? And so I would look at those sorts of things there as well. Question from Carly. Close contacts, joined a startup, 3 employees, hiring 60. Yeah, okay. So our sort of done with you thing is going to be like, if I was thinking about like the bigger answer to the question is that's the best way that I could help them, because then they're going through a group cohort. If they're doing it themselves, I would at least like send them this, and they, what they need to do. So if they have $0, if I have $0, but I'm hiring 60 people this year, I would do this myself. Yeah. So ask people what makes us special. And if that's a conversation with 3 of us, then that's what it needs to be. But I would also go ask people who represent our target hire. I would ask them those questions and then define a promise. I would have with that defined promise. So if you think about a EVP brand architecture, I should have included a slide here. You tend to have a hero promise, and then there's some different pillars of what makes you a good place to work. And you need to explain those things, and then you need to give proof of those things, right? Like, what's the lived example of that cultural value, or how do you make it true in your business? Then what you need to do is get that onto your career pages and your job ads and all of those sorts of things to make it true, make it consistent, make it compelling. Then what you need to do is tell that story. And if there's 3 of you, then it's probably a bunch of videos of the 3 of you talking overall about the vision and mission. It'll be videos and blogs and content of each of you talking about those different pillars that live inside of your EVP. You now need to get it in front of people. So for me, I would then be looking at I would invest in ads, because I don't know, you spend $1,000 on a Seek ad these days. Like, you might as well spend $1,000 promoting a video to a much bigger audience with potentially $1,000 actually gets you a lot of traction, a lot of views, a lot of engagement, and a lot of awareness on a platform like YouTube. I'd be doing that, and then I would understand that it's something I need to keep doing, right? So we always need to be asking people about why they start. You'll need to be asking people why they left. We work with a tech company where every person is sent an exit survey, and the CEO reads every exit survey. Yeah, and so they're big, but his commitment is he reads every single one, right? So if someone's leaving and they want to tell him like why his business sucked, he still reads every single one. That's good. So that would be my tips or advice for them, right? So, and if they have a little bit of money, then they should do it with us. If they have no money, then walk through that steps on their own, and send them this video and tell them to skip to, I don't know, an hour and 30 in. I hope that helps, Carly. Gemma, we're a fintech strategy starter, yet to get the brand strategy right, noting 50% of the workforce being technology, other 50% financial services. Seen any companies do this well. Look, one of the people that works with us actually embedded a bunch of what we do into Prosper. So that was sort of part of her HR and EVP approach for them. So does it work, or are there examples out there of fintechs like doing a good job of EVP? Absolutely. Yeah, I like it's not different or unique for a business to have like half of them tech, half of fin services. If I think about most software companies would be half tech, half sales quite often. So it's very common to have that sort of division of the different teams. What you do is, and I won't jump all the way back to it, but you might just have to have 2 tracks for your content. So here's an overarching promise of what it means to join this fintech on this journey. And if you think that you're too small for it, I would tell you that Canva started paying attention to this stuff 10 years ago when they were tiny, which is how they became big, was because they cared about brand strategy. And one of the guys I worked, so I, in a very small way, helped with some of the Canva EVP stuff. when they 8 or 10 years ago as well, because one of the guys that I used to work with went there at about the same time we're launching Eloquent. Question from Athena: sharing your insight, pleasure. Your mix between coaching. That's okay, gotcha. So you're already at month 3 to make the assets. Can you start halfway through? Look, I don't know. So I will. I'm on. You can see my email down the bottom there, sean@eloquent.com.au. Drop me a note. It'll depend on how many people are in the program, a little bit. But we can find a way to work, and hopefully you can see how we work based on how we share a lot of stuff. We give you a lot of advice. If we're not the right fit, we'll tell you we're not the right fit. If we can't help, we'll tell you we can't help, because nothing is worse than offering to do something you can't deliver on or you haven't done before. It's bad business. But look, as of today, most of our business is actually making and promoting content assets. So we make the blogs, we make the videos, we make the careers pages, we make the social posts, and then we get eyeballs onto them, right? Rather sharing them or email automation or through paid traffic. So that's a lot of what we do. I don't have a program that kind of starts there. But yeah, look, really happy to chat and find a way that if we can help, we can help. And if not, I'll tell you as well. Carly sending someone the slides. Thanks, Carly. James, good. Thank you, mate. Appreciate your time. Carly may or may have budget. No, I did. Yeah, no worries. It's, everyone's at a different point. My take on this is that, we can help them just get there faster with a level of certainty. That's all. Tanya, awesome presentation. Thank you so much. And look, honestly, I hope you found it useful. If you want to bounce any ideas, I will share whatever I can to help all of you. Hey, thanks, Melissa. It's I will. Yeah, if there's anything we can do helping you get budget, because I understand that reality as well, right? Most people in TA and HR aren't sitting there with budget for improving on their employer brand. And then the marketing team, everyone's marketing team with the best of intentions would love to help HR implement this stuff. But also your marketing team have their own metrics for success, their own budgets, their own resource constraints. So if you're lucky enough to walk in an organization that's already assigned some stuff for that, amazing. But yeah, that's why specifically in that the group program, we said you have multiple attendees from your business, because we want marketing there as well. Because you can't do EVP and employer brand without a really close-knit integration between your marketing team and your HR and your talent acquisition, right? If all of those people aren't involved, along with your internal hiring managers too, if all of those people aren't involved, then it'll tend to not work. So you need all of those parties involved. And so that was my way of thinking, is that if everyone got to be a part of this journey, then everyone would be, you would all know what you were doing and why, and understand the alignment of it. And also the great thing about a group thing is you can still customize stuff to make it fit your business. So we'll say, here's a structure and here's an ideal way of doing things. And you'll say, that's great, but we're a government department, so we need this in here and we've got to add this. And that's fine, right? That's the idea of everyone can tailor and customize the stuff that we've built out for everyone as well. I can see that there's still 20 of you here. Maybe people have just left and they've gone somewhere else now. But does anyone else have any other questions for the 20 of you here? And I will happily end. Hey, Julie, I'm glad you're still there. It's gonna be you and me at the end. If anyone has any other questions, I'm here for you. If you're here just hoping that you don't miss something at the end, then I appreciate that from you as well. Julie, that's where the gold happens. It is right. I find at the end, people have the best questions, and it's also the people the most interested in the topic, right? So the people the most interested stick around and ask the best questions, and so there's always some good answers at the end. But thank you, Julie, for being here with me. I appreciate it. I just looked at your Any suggestions if you don't have a local marketing team and no money? Cool, I do, Chloe. So you're going to have to put in some more sweat, right? So there's got to be more, like, you tend to need time or money, right? I would be, Natalie, no worries. It's my pleasure. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So Chloe, video works way better for EVP, right? And I've talked a bit about it, but not really, I didn't dig into why today. Jobs are a very human thing. It's people working together with people. Every time you ask someone like what they loved most about their last job, we always talk about the friends that we made and the people that we met, and it has such an impact on our lives, right? Like I met my wife. Like I met my wife because of my job and because things went well at LinkedIn. I could propose, right? Because I was in a, I was and have kids because I was confident that I could do those things. So the people that I worked with have this very real impact on all of your life and everything that you do. Text doesn't do a great job of conveying that stuff, and video does. So if you make a blog about why you're a great place, it's okay. But if you film people, you can grab a good mobile phone, and you can go ask the team, why do you love working here? And you can start to share that as content. And if you've got the smallest of budgets, then I would be posting those sorts of things. Then I'd be boosting it to target audiences, because you can still do those sorts of things. So yeah, I would be doing videos, and I would get clear on our EVP structure, right? Here's our promise. Here's the pillars that support that promise. Here's the proof of that, right? Here's the different ways that that's true. And here's some examples of the lived experience of that thing where we work, right? So, and the examples of the lived experience are some of the best content. Yeah. So a video about here's what makes us special, and here's Jenny and she does this all the time. And so showing that sort of stuff that really, because it humanizes the business, it gives people a window into it. The technology now for video is it's so much more cost effective. Editing is so much more cost effective. There's a whole bunch of tools you can do. You can edit videos in Canva now for free if you want, right? There's so many different ways that, layer things over the top and put your logos and intros and outros. So yeah, if you don't have money, it's going to be time, but I would get clear in our promise, and then I would make videos proving our promise. That would be my number one thing that I'd be doing. And I would be sending welcome videos and thank you videos to all of my new hires and starters. And it can be as structured as just creating, putting a calendar invite into your hiring managers for the week before. All of the team should gather around a mobile phone and send them hey, Jenny, we can't wait to see you on Monday. I think that's amazing content. From Melissa, do you also help with employee engagement, looking for intranet platforms? So kind of. So in our, how I had this, program versus making the assets, there's this big chunk in the middle around employee engagement. What we do have is some very specific diagnostics for are people engaged? So we've got some ways that we calculate and measure that, and then we give you a lot of recommendations based on that. Yeah. So because often when we're doing an EVP, you can't ask people about the promise without discovering what the challenges are as well. If you're looking for something to automate measuring your culture, so we've got ways that we can pulse check at once. We're not the right business or platform if you're looking for something that checks it and measures it on an ongoing basis. I think that Culture Amp is one of the, so I think the two businesses I'd point you to for the really strong enterprise solutions, I think, Chloe says Culture Amp's amazing. There you go. So Melissa, you've got a vote from Chloe on Culture Amp. Culture Amp, I think, are really focused on that, measuring and doing pulse surveys and diagnostics and analytics and surfacing what's working. So I think that's the enterprise SaaS solution to it. Qualtrics is a big data business, and I think someone from Qualtrics was here today. But they have some modules that specifically relate to employee engagement. So I think they're really good as well. So if you're looking for the data, there's another one. Oh wait, where's the name not coming to me? There's a company that also embeds. It's a combination of they look at your employee satisfaction and are they happy and how it's working, but then they also have on-demand coaching for your leaders. So it does this sort of, it measures how people are going. Hello Monday, sorry. So there's a platform called Hello Monday, and that's got sorry for Melissa. So it's Qualtrics. It is Culture Amp, and I would also look at Hello Monday. Hello Monday isn't their focus is engagement, but it's not just the measurement of culture. They've kind of got this on-demand coaching thing where you can put all of your leadership team and management team through different coaching, and some of it's live and some of it's delivered online. But there's almost like spot and on-demand coaching, right? So if someone in your team has a particular thing that's happening that day, or a particular need, or if they want to go ask a question, it's this platform that's got a whole bunch of trained leadership and management and training coaches that sit on the other side of it. So they can actually jump in and help with stuff, which I think is pretty cool as well. So that would be my shortlist. Qualtrics is like a big enterprise data analytics brand that has modules for it. Culture Amp is your homegrown Aussie localized business that focuses on culture and engagement, and they're like good people. So I would go have a look at them. And then Hello Monday is a lot of culture can begin with clarity around how management happens, and having consistency across your leadership and middle tier managers as well. And I think Hello Monday is a cool and Australian-based solution for that as well. Yeah, no problem, Melissa. Like day one of inputting your culture plans. Yeah. So I guess today was more brand than culture. There's a lady I would suggest that you speak with, and I'm just going to find the spelling of her last name. And I'm going to pop it here for you. Give me one moment, and I'll drop her LinkedIn profile. I'm just searching for it here. Here we go. Here's that. Okay, so Julie, me. All right, so you should speak to Julie. She does culture. So speak to Melissa and Julie. You should both talk to each other. I dropped a lady called Yvette there. I've known Yvette for about 10 years. She's awesome. She worked for a company doing advisory around working with leaders, but she was the person I referenced earlier that did a lot of the performance culture and EVP work at Prosper. She was actually their head of talent. And she also comes from like she worked at Gallup, which is like a strengths-based coaching type of business as well. So hopefully between Julia and between Yvette, you've got some good options there. But they're people I suggest you speak to. And like an Yvette sort of, yeah, I've known her for a long time, and like she's awesome. Like, but one of the best that I've met in the space. And then Julie, we'll have to get to know each other better, so I can like recommend you as well. Amazing. All right, I've gone for. I think that could be all of the questions. If there's anything, and there's still 15 of you here, so that's amazing. If you've got any questions, just drop me a note. I'll drop my email here for all of you as well. Yeah, lunchtime. It's gonna be like ginger lemon tea time for me, so I can still talk this afternoon in my meetings. I've dropped my email there. You can see it at the bottom of the slides. We'll send through all of the recordings, all of the resources. And for like the hardcore group of you who are still here, like I really appreciate you. And also like, thanks for like just participating. Like this sort of stuff, like I think it lives or dies depending on the chat comments, right? Like just people in there and getting involved and making a community rather than a really dry, boring, download of webinar of information. So thank you. I really appreciate you guys. You are my people, and let me know if there's anything I can do. Not trying to sell you stuff. Just if you need anything from me, if you want me to help you with stuff, let me know. I'm all yours. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you to everyone for your questions. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for spending this time with us. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Natalie. But I will speak to and hear from all of you soon. Thank you very much. Right. Cheers, guys. Bye. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Tanya.